My first book didn't sell huge amounts. It got some good reviews and people liked it, but it wasn't a sort of an explosive success, which I think was quite good. It was just a sort of nice, steady kind of build-up, which I think is the best way, really. Because I didn't know what to expect, really. It's just, I mean, it took a lot of getting used to the idea of being an author, which I'd always wanted to be, and also having to sort of speak to people and talk about my book, and which I found quite difficult at first. But I just really enjoyed it because, you know, it's what I always wanted, and I was lucky to get the chance to actually get published. So I just decided, you know, you've got to make the most of these opportunities, and I'm still making the most of it and really enjoying it. For me personally, you have to write for yourself. If you start writing for other people or trying to writing for other people's expectations, that can change the way you write. So no, I mean, any pressure comes from myself. I just want to, you know, I want to do the best I can all the time, and I want to sort of make the most of again, my opportunity. So I'm sort of, yeah, I'm trying to write different things all the time. I'm trying to write hopefully better things, and I'm branching out sort of into adult books, and I'd like to do some screenplays. So no, I don't feel any pressure at all. The only pressure comes from within me wanting to do better and not for any sort of, obviously, you know, I like to win prizes and I'd like to sell lots of books. But I think the main thing you have to concentrate on is making the story as good as it possibly can be. That's all you can do. I get known as somebody who writes for teenagers. I kind of think of myself more as somebody who writes about teenagers. And I think if a book's a good book, it doesn't really matter whether it's about a teenager or an old person or a dog or whatever. If it's a good book, then anybody should like it, really. Because I've been trying to write some books for adults for quite a while, and I had one piece of work that I was working on, and I was trying to write it in a different way, and it just wasn't working. So I went back to the way I normally write. Yeah, I mean, the only difference really, because I write in the first person, if you're writing from the point of view of a 40-year-old, they have a slightly different way of seeing things, a slightly different way of expressing themselves. But in terms of whether the book's any more complex or not, no, it's not. It's just exactly the same as any of my other books. And even the subject matter is no different either. It's not as if I could, think I can sort of deal with more serious subject matters, because I deal with those anyway. So there's really sort of not very much difference. There's a character in a book of mine called Road of the Dead there are two brothers. One's very sort of sensitive and quiet, and the other one's quite streetwise, and he can look after himself, and he's quite tough. And he's kind of like the hero, really. And I'd like to be like that. I'd like to be one of these tough guys who can sort of sort people out. I know I'm not, and I never could be. I'm more like the other one, the sort of sensitive, quiet, cowardly one. But that's part of the joy of both reading and writing. You can become somebody else, somebody you'd like to be for a while. It wouldn't be just somebody who has superpowers, because Batman doesn't have any superpowers. I suppose it's the ability. It's the ability to help other people or to stop bad things happening. More than just an ordinary mortal. So I think you can. Greek gods were superheroes, and King Arthur was a superhero, and Jack Bauer in 24 is kind of a superhero, that sort of thing. It's that ability to change things and stop bad things happening. I think it's a bit of both, really. I think that was one of the things that interested me, because it would be, on one level, it would be fantastic, but after a while, I think it would slowly start to drive you crazy. So that's what and that's the same for all kind of superhero things. immediately, you know, first of all, it'd be fantastic. Oh, I can do all this, but after a while, just the idea of being different to everybody else and having the abilities to do things which other people can't do, I think after a while that would kind of send you crazy. I mean, I use the internet a lot for writing, just finding stuff out. But I'm also, because I have Facebook and MySpace for people to write to me and ask me stuff about my books. Yeah, and it's just there all the time. At the moment, I'm writing a book for my next young adult book, and it's set in 1976. And I thought when I first started doing it that there'd be, you know, that I'd have to sort of constantly be sort of checking things to sort of, but funnily enough, there isn't really very much difference. The only sort of real problem, well, not problem, but just the difference between having a mobile telephone and having to use a telephone box. But apart from that, nothing really has changed. And I realised that I think apart from the internet, which is, I mean, to me that's revolutionary, but almost everything else is not really, it's not new, it's just different ways of doing things. So mobile phone is just different to using a phone box. You know, podcasts, they're just the same as, you know, recording music on your cassette player. So it's always stuff that we could always do, it's just in a different format and different interface, and maybe it's sort of quicker and easier. So yeah, I don't think it has, you know, I don't think it's changed the sort of fundamental, I mean, obviously it's, you know, it's changed a lot, but I don't think it's changed anything fundamentally. At the end of iBoy, Elman is kind of disappeared. He's very badly injured, but he disappears from hospital. So there is a possibility that he's not survived, but there is also a possibility that he has survived. And there's also a slight possibility that he survived having a BlackBerry explode in his chest. So there is a slight possibility that maybe that could have some kind of effect on him in the same way that the iPhone had an effect on Tom. And so there's a possibility that he may return, and Tom and Lucy's peaceful, enjoyable days might not be so peaceful and enjoyable for so long.